Okay, so if you're considering moving to Westchester or one of the surrounding counties from New York City, maybe Manhattan or Brooklyn, here are 7 mistakes that I see Manhattan and New York City expatriates make when they make the move to the burbs. And this is especially important for you to listen to if you grew up here and you're moving like back home and you think you know the ropes. So mistake number 1 is not using a buyer agent. Many of you are going to have budgets north of $1 million, $2, $3, sometimes $4 million. And there is a thought that if you go directly to the listing agent, that you'll either get a better deal or that you'll have a better chance of getting your offer accepted. And that is a fallacy, just plain and simple. The data does not support that. And you're taking an incredible risk because we're talking about spectacular amounts of money changing hands. For most people, it's the largest transaction of their lives, but now you're looking at really 7 figures. And to have a broker in the middle who's either got divided loyalty or is not even representing you and just representing the seller, that is taking an incredibly irresponsible risk that the data doesn't even support. So you should have a full-time advocate representing you with these kinds of numbers being thrown around. The second mistake I see, and this is along the lines of representation as well, is using your New York City attorney that you used maybe to sell your condo or co-op up here. And I will tell you, they may be a fantastic attorney and they may know Westchester inside and out and claim and all that, but I will tell you this. The visual of a 718 or a 212 area code on the offer for the contact information for the buyer's attorney is not a green flag. That is a red flag, and you want your offer accepted. You want the optic of this building the confidence with the seller and the listing agent that you're going to perform and that you're the one they should pick. So that box has to be checked. Get a local attorney, and that's something your buyer agent can help you with. Mistake number 3 is get yourself educated about what it's like to live in a house with well and septic. There's an incredible amount of misinformation out there about well water or what it's like to have a septic system. And while there are obvious maintenance requirements and things that you should know and have your expectations managed, thousands and millions of people live with well and septic. And as long as you have the correct filtration system and as long as you maintain your septic, you probably can sleep at night knowing that everything is flowing properly and that you're drinking healthy water. And the fix on water especially is quite reasonable. Number 4 is get educated on oil heat and oil tanks. Many homes up here have oil heat, and many of them do have buried oil tanks. No, there is no law that the seller has to dig up the oil tank and replace it, but there is a legitimate concern that an oil tank which fails its test will have contamination. So get educated about that. Understand that it is the seller's responsibility to fix any contamination. And if you do buy a house, even if it does have a buried oil tank, if it's a perfect house but it's got a buried oil tank, it's not the end of the world. If it passed its test, you can convert to gas if it's available. You can get a new oil tank and put it above ground. And again, these are not in the scope of things catastrophic expenses. Get educated about environmental concerns. That is number 5. Mold, radon, these things occur in nature. And just because a home may, for example, have a high radon reading does not mean that 30 days into living in that house, you're going to get a lung tumor. So mold, radon, these things, if there's a little patch of mold, don't get too alarmed about these things. Get educated, and these are things that your buyer agent can point you in the direction of about what the ramifications are and what the degrees of expense are based on the actual situation in the home. High radon, I don't even think for a regular sized home, it's maybe $2,000 to fix. We can figure it out. You can Google it. If it's a much larger home, again, in the scope of things, that is something that probably the seller can cover as well, as it is a health and safety issue. Number 6 is do not buy into what you may read on local Facebook groups. Now, it is very understandable that if you're researching where to live, that you'll check out local Facebook community groups to kind of get the vibe of the community. But I will tell you, most Facebook groups skew negative, and that's not where all the happy people flock to talk about how much they love living somewhere, because they're too busy being happy living there, all right? That is where people go to vent, and they are not indicative of the real, true community vibe. So that's a big mistake. Don't buy into the negativity on Facebook groups. And number 7, asking your agent to give you specific information about things like crime, demographics, and school ratings is really not something an agent can furnish you with because of fair housing concerns and considerations around something known as steering. We can give you resources and websites to go to do your own research, but we really can't speak to our thoughts about demographics, crime, school ratings, and so forth. I will say one exception is if their kids go to those schools. That probably is a bit more of a statement than anything that they could express to you, but those discussions are better done on your own research and not done with the agent due to fair housing. So you're going to spend a lot of money. There's a lot of things you want to do right. You only get one bite out of the apple because there's no do-overs in real estate. So you want to have a good agent. You want to do your research, and you want to make sure you have good representation. If you have questions about this or anything else regarding moving from the city to the burbs up here in Westchester or the surrounding counties, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my 30 years of experience to work for you to give you a confidential and a no obligation consultation to get you the answers you need to make the right decision for your housing. I am indeed here to help.